Mr. President, I would like to report on the work of the State Council for the Support of Veterans, Participants of Hostilities and Members of their Families, which has been formed in accordance with your order. Our commission began its work in March. Our goal is to strengthen the coordination of the federal and regional bodies of executive power, the Defense Fund of the Fatherland, and other organizations in the interest of participants of special military operations, veterans, members of their families. We have formed 3 working groups aimed at improving the social support and well-being of veterans, members of their families, improving medical and psychological care, and increasing the effectiveness of interdepartmental interaction on the entire range of issues in this area. Our commission includes governors, representatives of the Russian government, the President's administration, the Defense Fund of the Fatherland, public organizations, the People's Front, experts, and participants of the Time of Heroes program. We held 4 meetings of the commission, 7 meetings of the working groups. In total, the commission received more than 500 appeals, half of which are proposals to improve the effectiveness of the state's work in this area. The commission consists of 44 people. The Commission has already found solutions to a number of issues, namely the issue of the working order. The government has decided to extend the Social Fund program to the 26th and 27th years to provide medical rehabilitation and sanatorium recreational treatment. At the Commission site, the Ministry of Labor, the Ministry of Environment, and the Ministry of Finance have worked out the most effective solutions to the program to stimulate entrepreneurship among veterans using the mechanism of the social contract. At our site, the ministry has worked with the regions, with the Defense Fund of the Fatherland, and unified the rules for the adaptation of residential facilities for the disabled. This is a very important issue. I would like to note that the legislation is constantly being improved. We are actively cooperating with both chambers of the Federal Assembly and with the government of the Russian Federation. I would also like to note that the government of the Russian Federation has been supporting the participants of the special military operation and the members of their families since the spring of 2022. Undoubtedly, the decision on the creation of the Defense Fund of the Fatherland, which is currently operating in a one-winded regime, as I have already said, our commission is receiving a large number of appeals. On the 29th of September, we held an extensive meeting of the commission in which we reviewed the submitted proposals. Mr. President, if you allow me, I would like to report on the proposals that we believe can be the basis of the government's instructions and become an even greater tool for implementing measures to support the veterans of the special military operation.
Who took part in this extensive meeting?
This meeting was attended by governors, representatives of the government, the presidential administration, experts, public organizations, and all those who are participating in the organization and support of the participation in the special military operation. Mr. President, I would like to start by saying that at the level of the government, the State Duma and the Federation Council, we are constantly working to promote the status of veterans of military operations as a new category of citizens who take part in the special military operation. Nevertheless, there are still problems. For example, this applies to the military personnel who died as a result of the enemy's fire. At the same time, they did not have a combat mission at the moment. As an example, I would like to mention the Illinois 76 crew of the Ministry of Defense in the Air Force. This was in January 2024. Their relatives received insurance payments, but are not able to use the benefits. Mr. President, I would like to ask the Ministry of Defense and the government of the Russian Federation to address this issue. There is a proposal to improve the legal procedures and the circulation documents. The People's Front notes that there are fewer and fewer such gaps. At the same time, it requires the improvement of the exchange between the authorities, the Defense Fund, and the Russian Federation on the data on veterans and participants in the special military operation of their families. We have also prepared a proposal for medical assistance and rehabilitation. First, we need to restore justice for the children who were injured due to their disability since 2014. In some cases, they did not have a disability, and in some cases, it was a household disability. This affects their status and benefits. We have proposed the appropriate mechanism that could solve this problem. We also believe that we need to consider recommendations on improving the availability of psychological and psychotherapeutic assistance for the participants in the special military operation during the period of dispensarization. There is also a separate category of families of the deceased and missing persons who really need special attention. We would like to ask the Ministry of Health and the Serbian and Bekhterev Scientific Center to develop and implement the appropriate recommendations. We would like to ask the Ministry of Health and the Serbian and Bekhterev Scientific Center to develop and implement the appropriate recommendations. We have proposed training, professional training, and employment of veterans in the special military operation. There are many vacancies today, but unfortunately, it is not easy to choose the right person due to the lack of education and qualifications. In some cases, it is a post-traumatic syndrome or disability.
But the Foundation is actively engaged in this?
The Foundation is actively engaged in this. Entrepreneurs are actively engaged in this. Regions are actively engaged in this. We would like to propose considering the possibility of making more flexible qualification requirements for the appointment of a position in the state and municipal service. There are certain problems related to the lack of experience in the state and municipal service. We would like to propose considering the possibility of making more flexible qualification requirements for the appointment of a position in the state and municipal service. Secondly, we believe that it is necessary to reconsider the medical criteria for the disabled. For example, a welder. A person with amputated lower limbs can work as a welder. However, the medical requirements in the Commission do not allow him to do so. I believe that this could also be considered and a positive decision would be made. In the field of education, we propose to the young people who have just returned from the special warfare zone not to wait until September 1st, but to give them an opportunity to take preparatory courses before enrolling in universities. We believe that for veterans of hostilities, including their families, it is necessary to give them an opportunity that are higher than the average educational institutions. I also believe that universities should consider the possibility of several qualifications, including the individual curriculum. These proposals have also been discussed at the State Council meeting with the Ministry of Education and Science.
It is necessary to understand how it will be financed so that this proposal does not hang in the air. If it is beyond the plan, then who will finance it? It is necessary to think about it in advance.
That is why we propose to deal with this issue today. Mr. President, there is a proposal to create conditions for adopting sports. In many cases, our veterans live in remote settlements, in villages, where they can play sports only in schools, at school stadiums. There is a certain level of security there, so it is not always possible to make use of this opportunity. I would also like to ask the government to consider the rules for providing the opportunity to play sports, adaptive sports, part of special military operations, in educational institutions.
Yes, that is correct. Everything needs to be done, but it is necessary to consider the details. I will repeat once again that all these good ideas do not hang in the air.
Yes, Mr. President. There is another area that I would also like to report to you. As you know, in all areas of the Federation, depending on the territorial peculiarities, budgetary security, regional measures of social support for veterans, members of special military operations, members of their families. This is a systematic work. I communicate a lot with my colleagues, governors, and you know very well that for every governor this is a priority area. In accordance with your instructions, on March 8th, the State Council Commission for State and Municipal Management prepared a project of a basic standard for providing social support for members of special military operations, members of their families, members of the families of the deceased members of the Federal Security Service. We carried out a similar work in the Central Federal District. We discussed in detail the proposed options and heard the opinions of the regions and formed a list of measures of support that could become a model for implementation in all regions of the Russian Federation, regardless of the region from which the person went to fight and which region he returned to. There are 19 measures of social support that involve education, social protection, employment, healthcare, culture, relations in the sphere of tax law, and free qualified legal assistance. We offer special attention to the families of the heroes who died. As part of this basic standard, we believe that the measures should apply not less than until the end of the year, the following year after the end of the special military operation, and should apply to the members of the families of the deceased. I am confident that this will allow to complete the formation of a unified system of measures of support at the federal, regional, and municipal level. I have finished my report. Mr. President, we, as all regions, support our participants in the special military operation. All state bodies, private organizations, and ordinary residents help with humanitarian aid. I often meet with the guys. I recently met with the commander of the 177th Marine Regiment of the Caspian Fleet. It is a legendary regiment. The guys have been fighting since the very beginning. They landed on the coast of the Sea of Azov and liberated Berdyansk. Later, they showed heroism in the liberation of the Kursk region in the direction of Nazim. Today, they are carrying out a combat mission in the Pokrovsk direction. Mr. President, they have given you a gift. I would like to give it to you with great pleasure, but only if it is possible to give it to you in private.
I wish them all the best and thank you. I know where and how they will receive it. Thank you.
Allow me to report on the situation in the region. Mr. President, we are finishing the harvest. Our agricultural producers are showing record results. They have already collected about 2 million tons. In general, since 2019, we have been demonstrating an increase in the volume of agricultural products. Since 2019, it has increased by 49%. The area of the land with 11,000 hectares is also growing. Today, we have grown to 92,000 hectares.
Nevertheless, the problem of desertification still exists.
The problem of desertification still exists. You have given instructions. Today, we are working on this issue with the Ministry of Natural Resources and the Ministry of Agriculture. Mr. President, you are always interested in the situation with the resettlement of residential areas. We have a lot of such residential areas. According to the new program, we have already resettled 75,000 square m. In the coming years, we hope to resettle another 260,000 square m. This is a very large area of emergency housing. I have reported to you about the catastrophic situation associated with water supply and drainage problems, which accounted for 92%. We have done a lot of work with the Ministry of Construction. We are now forming a program for the modernization of communal infrastructure. In the past year and a half, we have reduced the number of accidents in housing systems. All the infrastructure menus provided by the government of the Russian Federation are aimed at modernization and reconstruction of water supply systems and drainage systems. We note the growth and pace of housing construction. Today, we are among the top 10 in the country. We cannot boast of the number of million square m. cities, but we will definitely implement our plan of 615,000 square m in Russia this year. We continue our cooperation with our neighbors in the Caspian Sea. We are building relations in the humanitarian and economic sphere. We actively encourage, attract, and cooperate in the development of the North-South International Transport Corridor. This is our key direction and logistical chain, which we believe is the main driver of economic development of our region and of building relations with our neighbors.